So really like stacking interests is what we usually like to do. Of course, you can do each of them by themselves, but often they'll have a lot of overlap, so that won't really make sense. Yeah. So next is the interest that I want to go over. So what we like to do is similar to look like it's stacked in similar groups. So an option you have is often just large, so it'll be like really large audience. So for example, if I take this brand right there, I think I have an interest active right there. Yep. So this is the Advantage Plus again, but here I kind of stacked a lot of interests that are similar. So carpentry, chainsaw, forest. They're selling like tools for woods, for firewoods. So really like stacking interests is what we usually like to do. Of course, you can do each of them by themselves, but often they'll have a lot of overlap, so that won't really make sense. So sometimes what we like to do is kind of do a big dive into those interests and really group them into different types. So for example, like this one, still, that's a brand that sells tools. So I could have probably done a different ad set with just the brands that are similar to steel, that sell chainsaw or stuff to works in the wood. And then another one would be like all those big additional. So here it says not available. Not sure why it says unavailable here. Let me switch things up here. Yep. So yeah, that's weird. Yeah, so usually we'll see the audience. So we can see the audience size right there. Um, so like, let's say, for example, that's close to 300 million. But before you do those, you can also see them right there, I guess. So if I just remove forestry, yeah, you'll see it there. So it says like 44 million. So that's kind of the interest we're looking for, because often you'll see that some interests will be very small. Those will usually be the ones you don't want to use, or they'll be like job or employers. Um, yep. Oh, there's a ton in there, so I'll show you. So if you click on suggestion right there, you can see, like, for example, this one, arborist, really small, like 2,000 people. So I'm not sure why Facebook still have those jobs. There sometimes it can be decent size, like this one, 14,000, but still that's way too small for an employer type of thing. So make sure you go for interests or behaviors that are big enough, and when you select them, you'll have more suggestion that will be similar to the one you added. You can also browse, and then they added this size option right there, which I haven't used a ton. They're kind of just sorted in size, which makes sense. The top one's on top, but furniture might not be the one we're looking for this brand. That'll be more like wood type of interest or logging. Yeah, and then what you can do for those, if you want to do a big dive deep, is save the audience type, and then that will create an audience right there, and you can compare the two and see how much overlap there is. So let's say I do, like I said, these are lookalikes. They're not interest based, but just to show you real quick. So here you can see like how much percentage these two audience go over. So about 86%. So what you could do is kind of break down between either the brands or different the big ones right there, and see if you can find like different kind of target that are not overlapping too much between each other. So that way you're not overlapping anything, and it's kind of tapping into different type of audience. Yeah, and there's behavior too. So behaviors, let me see if I can find one here. No. So if I browse, here you have some behaviors. So let me show you one, for example. This one doesn't want to do the drop down. Oh, yeah. Digital activity. So, yeah, console gamer, for example, that would be an interesting one to do for a gaming type of interest. I know that that could work. Facebook page admin. So you have you can target all the page admin or either some specific one that are in the health and wellness, for example. You can also do the zip code. Um, you can do the music creators. Yeah, so this the behavior, usually what we'll use for in terms of the behavior is the business page admins, for example, or new page admin, stuff like that. But usually business page admin. Let's say we have a health and beauty company that's looking for B2B type of thing. We could do this. So these are large. I mean, this is pretty small, but usually like retail would be decent size. And oh, that's because we have men right there. That's still quite small. But usually those behaviors are not that small. And there's a zip code you can do. So top 5%, for example. So that would be the people in the top 5% of the United States zip code. This is actually income, not a behavior. Yeah, so you can do that if you want to go for people that have more disposable income. For example, we have a client doing tax services, so we're really using that quite a bit to really narrow it down. And yeah, in terms of narrowing, what you can do also, so let's say you do the top 5%, you can also narrow, define further. And let's say you want to do wealth management or something like that. So that will narrow. They will need to be either in the top 5% and also in these. And you can do as many steps as you want to. Just want to make sure, check your audience size here and see if it gets too small. Because let's say I do wood carving, yeah, that goes really small, so that kind of doesn't match. We usually don't do a ton of those. We like to stack them, but if it makes sense, for example, in this case, to just go top 5% and go wealth management, that's a good way to do it. Yeah, there's few cases where we're gonna narrow, but usually we'll use the stack. And then for these you have the advantage option. The narrow option, that's what I kind of just went over, but you have the advantage option. That would be just kind of the suggestion. So Meta says it's 30% lower cost per result. So yeah, it's good to use. So for either lookalikes or interests, you could always go with the Advantage Plus. And on the Advantage Plus, that's kind of where I would put like some genders and some age probably. But if I go with the original, just make sure it's big enough. Would usually keep it quite open. I mean, always depends. You can always test it out. Just different option now. Gives you one more thing to test for interest is just set it to Advantage Plus. And Advantage Plus, it probably make more sense to define further than just the regular ones. So yeah, question on interest? No. All right. Then the other one is broad. So broad is it could work really well. Often what I found is that broad, when it starts to slow down, it will crash quicker than interest or lookalike audience. So once it starts to go sideways, it won't recover less than lookalikes or interests. What I found, general, but it always depends for sure. So for broad again, interesting is that you can just go broad with United States, which gives you 160 million. And you can also just do broad, but Advantage Plus. So it's the same thing, but you just go broad. And you can add your suggestion. You could go broad with, let's say, for these people would be men 35 and up. So that would be an interesting audience to go for. So just set the demographic, leave it broad, and go Advantage Plus. Or you can also just leave it broad with these parameter without Advantage Plus. It's not a big difference. Both are kind of broad. It's just that one has the new option and the other one doesn't. And then the ASC. The ASC is kind of the same thing as broad. All of those will do remarketing on themselves, but ASC is really says it out loud that it's kind of catch-all type of campaign. So for these ones, we can set an existing customer budget cap. That's kind of the only targeting option. They give for a little bit of time the suggestion on the ASC, but they no longer have it for some reason. So for the ASC, kind of the only option you have. I'll find it. Yeah, there you go. So it's the existing customer budget cap. So let's say you want to put a percentage. So let's say you don't want any percentage, so you just put like 0% right there. We usually don't use it, kind of leave it open, but that's kind of your only option that you have for ASC. It's really like going broad, letting Facebook optimize, and all about the creatives that you have. You can define your existing customers. Yeah, you can define your existing customers and your engage audience in the audience section. So for this one, the customers, we put all the buyers. Actually, buyers all contains both of these, but I've set them there. And then we also have the pixel for the buyers. And then for the engage audience, that's the visitors excluding the purchaser of the pixel. So your engage audience, I put 6 months. That's probably quite a bit long. Could probably do 60 days or 90 days. That would make more sense for the engage audience, but it's relatively small. So that's kind of why I went 180 days for these guys. So ASC is kind of broad. It's kind of ASC. We found that if we have a lot of data, you will usually work quite good. But if it's a new business, ASC sometimes will go sideways because it doesn't really know where to go. Doesn't have a ton of data. So yeah. All right, welcome to today's Metas call. So we're gonna go over audiences. We're gonna start with prospecting audiences, and then go through remarketing. And then if there's any question, anything practical,